y dos, y dos, una, y dos, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortesnyc Livestream podcast.
This show broadcasts out of New York City
We're your hosts, Cortesnyc,
and Carla de Puerto Rico.
and on the show we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I am a visual artist,
And I'm a singer.
and this is episode 84.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Spotify, and on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And don't forget my online store, cortesnyc.bigcartel.com. On there, you could find my pins, my stickers, my posters, and original art for sale. So if you're into graffiti merchandise, please check it out. Special shout out to J Mac. This past weekend, he had a big event up in.
New Jersey, Toms Rivers.
Shout out to you, homie, J Mac. Oh, yeah. So this episode 84,
It's a very special episode, as all our episodes are special, like, but this one
It's extra special.
Extra special. It's like having a cheesecake and then putting, like, a cheesecake is great without strawberries on top of it, but then when you put the strawberry syrup and the strawberries on top of the cheesecake, it makes it even more special.
it makes it even more special.
So that's what this episode is about.
Yeah. Well, okay. This episode is special because we got a special guest. We got Meres One.
Yeah.
Meres One of the fame of 5 Points. If you guys are familiar with graffiti and New York global graffiti culture, then you would know about Meres One. Meres One was the curator of 5 Points. 5 Points was in Queens, New York. It was the mecca of graffiti for a while. It had a good 20-year run. It attracted tourists from around the world. It was a location where people came to see in New York graffiti all the time, 24/7. There was graffiti artists there doing their thing.
First and only art open doors museum, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Outdoors museum.
Yeah, it was the first
Yeah.
of its kind and possibly the last of its kind because
Right.
I don't see people really imitating it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we Meres is an old friend of mine. He's an old friend of the show, and we finally got a chance to sit down with him on a long car ride. 'Cause That's the
Yeah.
only way you're gonna get him to sit down. And we got a chance to actually just have a conversation with him. No pressure on him. We didn't talk specifically 5 Points this time around, but we did talk about his career, how he got into graffiti, his view about graffiti art, and just kind of some tips for some of the graffiti artists coming up.
Yeah,
and
it was
things.
a very nice conversation between you guys more.
Well, Carla, you were in the
than
back
anything.
seat. You were
I was
just-
in the back seat. I was
just-
listening. I was taking in everything that you guys were saying. That's
Yes,
why.
sipping coffee and eating snacks, right,
Yeah.
on the road.
But definitely a great conversation that if you are into graffiti or art in general, it's good to hear because it's good to listen from people that had experience in a medium, to know how they describe certain concepts and aspects of that style of art. So I think it's great and you should take notes.
All right, so with that said, let's get into the interview. Meres One. All right, so I'm here with Mr. Meres One. Finally, how many episodes in are we, Carla? 82, 83.
82 episodes and now you're finally reaching out to me, bro? Dude, I feel hurt right now, bro.
You know how hard it is to get you to sit down and talk? You know how anybody out there who's ever tried to
I'm
record
not
this
sitting
guy?
down now.
You know how the man's got one spray can in one hand, he's driving with the other, he's got a cell phone under his arm, he's got a canvas,
Yes.
he's painting a canvas with his toes, like the man's doing everything.
As we speak.
We're stuck in traffic here on our way up. We're going to Connecticut to a graffiti jam up in Connecticut. Gonna rock some dope pieces. We're full of energy, full of coffee. We're full of conversations. So we figured we'd take this time out to have a nice conversation with Mr. Meres One. Meres One is a graffiti artist, curator, fine artist. He's done it all. The man's done it all. and a teacher as well. He's definitely, a lot of you people out there in New York have seen him, spreading the knowledge and passing on the information to adults and youth. But right now, I just want to talk about Meres, the graffiti artist. I want to get a little bit of your background, a little bit of your views on New York graffiti, on graffiti worldwide, your beginnings, that kind of stuff. Let's start with the beginnings, Meres. Go ahead, tell me, how did you get into graffiti?
I'll say I was an artist first and foremost. Always liked to draw. When I was in public school, I don't know what grade, so somewhere between 1st and 6th grade, and coming out into the yard, I noticed Smurfy from Jamaica did a Smurf in the park, on the park house. And at the time, because I wasn't familiar with graffiti, it was background noise. I didn't notice it. When I saw the Smurf face, it was the first instance where it caught my eye and I was able to identify what I was looking at, which is a Smurf icon, and it caught my interest, being that I was an artist. That being said, from that moment, where somebody's like, no, that's graffiti, dummy. The school didn't hire somebody to do that. I started to take notice to graffiti, and quickly found that the mischievous act of going around and writing on things was cool, and started picking up tagging in '87, and wasn't really, it's funny because my ideas of graffiti have changed as I've grown. The idea of all city to me didn't exist. Dabbled with bombing. I wouldn't say I was any king of street bombing, but definitely had fun running around, being mischievous in areas of Queens. When people were saying going all city, I didn't get the idea of why would I go do something in the Bronx when I don't hang out there. I want to see everything I do. To me, it was like, kind of like a dog marks their corner. I want to tag up where I'll be able to follow up on it, to make sure it still exists, whatever. And then, got into obviously seeing subway art and spray can art. Those are like my first two kind of pieces of literature, and then I read those books.
This is definitely like the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Mid 80s.
Mid 80s. And as I generated a nice amount of beef and saw the artistic side of piecing and kind of gravitated towards that a little more, I took a different approach and wanted to get into piecing. Now with piecing, I started to try to get around and paint a little more in different areas, as opposed to when I was tagging, and learned a lot in traveling, to different. Back in the 90s, my first piece was '94, and that was
spray paint
piece done in Queens, in Forest Hills with, I believe, Topaz.
What? Shout out to Topaz.
And I was hooked from that moment on, and I would find abandoned factories, track sides, rooftops that you could get up and that are pretty dead and you could access.
So let me ask you this: what did you like? Because I remember my first graffiti piece in spray paint. I thought I was like I knew it all because I was doing black books. Because everybody starts with black books first. So I had sketches of outlines and characters and everything. Then I went to go my first graffiti piece, some Hambo court, and it was a disaster.
Okay.
No, this was out in actually my first piece was in Elmhurst.
Okay.
Jackson Heights, and it was a disaster. I spent so many hours to do something that was so mediocre, and just to get a straight line, just to even understand what the colors looked like, because you look at the spray can and you're like, it's blue. You go start painting, you don't realize what's the difference between a royal blue and a baby blue until you put it against the brown, and you're like, oh shit, these colors don't work.
Yeah.
Your brain is just not functioning. It's like you're kind of like, there's like a tone deafness, a color blindness that happens until you start to really understand the colors that the spray paint are going to give you and how they interact. So to me, it was a nightmare. And I don't know what it was for you, your first piece.
My first piece came out pretty good considering. I worked my ass off to get it, because like I didn't have the skill set to one take it that we do now. And,
right.
You know, and I worked my ass off on cutbacks and going back and forth. And, you know, we didn't also have this specialty paint they have now, which is like cheating and, you know, like...
I mean, that was a whole other thing is, you know, you had a Krylon and a Rusto and one would drip over the other and you'd be like, well, why doesn't this work?
It takes forever to dry and they crack and then learning the caps.
I have a red Rusto, why wouldn't it go over this black? What's the matter? It won't go over the black, why not?
Yeah. And we were cheap then. We tried to use the same cap 50 times over. So, no, I mean, the first piece, as it took long, but I was very pleased with it. And I kind of waited a while. I really got good in, like, semi-good in books, I suppose, before I had the heart to take it to a wall. And due to that fact, I was able to, I'm very quick at learning and adapting and absorbing information. For instance, when I met you at Hillcrest, I had no freaking clue as to how you got those details and cuts. I didn't, you know, till you see, oh, you do the black first and all the shading, the dark shading, and then you layer it with the lighter colors on top, and you're like, ah.
Yeah, that was.
And that's when you start to realize dark colors are very overbearing. They're harder to do subtle fades as if you lay the dark down and come back with the light tones.
I think like my first graffiti venture was like late 80s, like 88 maybe. And all that cutback stuff that you're talking about was 90s. So it took me a good 5 years to understand how to use spray paint. Like that first time I used spray paint, I didn't understand how to use spray paint. I did a piece and walked away. Frustrated. I spent an entire day. I wasted 3 times the spray paint that I had to waste to get something mediocre, and it was a struggle, and I hated myself at the moment. Right now, so my question to you is, what do you think kept you going? Because I'm sure the first time was a challenge. What kept you going to the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one?
Graffiti itself is a competitive sport. It's an ego-driven. It's pushing your boundaries and trying to better yourself. I've always had a dream when I was young and starting. I want to be a legend. I want to be like Dondi. Dondi's one of my favorite writers of all time. I'd say definitely my favorite writer. And you're like, you know, being a kid getting into it and seeing these you know, young adult teenagers that are already famous, and you're like, I want to be that. It's no different than want to be a professional football player or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm a very hard-working person, and I'm very rarely content. I don't think I can ever say this is the piece of my life or my career.
Right.
It just, you know, that hasn't been done yet. And until I'm dead, that won't be able to be an option to look back on. And to me, I think the constantly trying to push and better myself and to learn and absorb and being a sponge is what differentiates a regular artist that, you know, gets a style and they get good at it and they stay stuck on stupid, and those that keep innovating and pushing the game.
So let's talk about style. So right there, we started saying, you know, first you got to master the spray can. And for me, it took maybe 5 years for me to finally get a technique that I can say was my technique with spray paint, that I was comfortable with, that I could work with, that was predictable for me. So now I know what's predictable with the tools. Now let me invent some style. And that's the next wave is style. Talk to me about style. When did you come into your style?
Style's tough because no matter how you look at it, you're absorbing other people's ideas and style and technique to create your own. Where you have to figure out for yourself is, you know, how much can you absorb without you starting to look like that person.
Gotcha.
And
which is common in graffiti, right? Because graffiti
is common in graffiti. It's tough, and that's
homogenous.
That's why, you know, and you could see little, like, I'm sure, you know, you could look at each artist and see, all right, I could see he was influenced by this one and he was influenced, and that's okay, as to me, as long as it isn't a clear distinction. Like, wow, I know who your daddy is. And there's a lot of writers like that. I'm not gonna put no one on blast, whatever, it is what it is. Me personally, you could hate my shit or like it. I feel I've come to a point where I've created my own thing that's recognized as Meres.
Gotcha.
And I don't like to think that someone will look at me and be like, oh, I can tell who schooled you. And I worked hard and sat and drew and drew and drew. And you know, growing up, I'll give one little shout out to my dad, which I don't give him many, is in growing up, my dad worked as a printer and wasn't really too present in my life, but in that sense, he would bring me home reams of paper, and I used to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sheets of paper. Like, I'd have in my closet at any time 50 reams of paper. So I would shit on paper and discard it like nothing.
All right.
From tags to throw-ups to everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how much of that paper ended up being just your name over and over again?
Over and over and over, like everything. I went through, I cut down a tropical forest somewhere.
Yeah.
So that is a big part, and that's a valid thing too. Some people can't afford to buy that many, you know, pairs. So you have to limit what you do. You have to be
you know,
smart.
Some people might see that as a waste of paper or a waste of whatever. But I definitely, I have a ton of sketchbooks that if you go through it, you'd be like, was this guy a madman? Like, why was he just writing his name over and over again? And basically what it is, it's like a batter practicing his swing.
Of course.
You got to practice that physical, you know, muscle memory of practicing strokes, so that when you do create art, you have those strokes in your hand.
And realistically, I had reams of paper, pads, books, where I would just jot down a thought or a quote of a song, or a crew, and because I don't want to just get good at just writing my name. I want to be able to go to a wall and write anybody's name and have every letter of the alphabet. And I feel like, you know, I'm not the best in the world, not even close, far from the worst, but I feel like I could do every letter. I could write any name, any letter of the alphabet, any number, and make it look as if it's my tag and own it, and not be like, oh, he does great Meres pieces, but that piece he did for his girl looks like shit. You know?
I've seen the pieces that you do for Marie and they look great.
You know, thank you.
Like, Marie's getting up.
Listen, if I don't get fed. No, I'm just kidding. But no, so, you know, and like I said, that's my formula. Not everybody has the same.
Absolutely.
Me also, I've always wanted to be a career artist. Some people don't want to be a career artist. Some people like having their job. They could be a city worker.
Right.
They could be a construction worker by day, and their hobby is graffiti on the weekend, and that's their getaway and their escape. And I respect that. You know, everybody got to figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a stubborn bastard, and you know, even when, rest in peace to my mother, when she was alive, she's like, I know you like the graffiti stuff, but you know, get a real art job and keep that as your hobby, but you know, find out what you want to do in life.
Yeah.
And then come the end of her life, she was like, you know what, you really wanted to do this from day one, and you really pushed yourself, and she was proud of me. You know, she got to see 5 Points in its glory, and before it was a threat to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Which makes me happy because she didn't go out worried.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you want as a parent. Different topic, but that's all you want as a parent is, you know, you want to be the the sensible voice in their head. You want to be the grounding voice in their head, even if it goes against your. I'm sure that she, in her heart, wanted you to be the crazy, funky artist that you were, but was afraid.
Well,
because she can't say
she was afraid, and she also, you know, she was a good mother, and she didn't really get graffiti. But she respected the fact that I loved it.
She's not supposed to. It wasn't her. It wasn't part of her. You know, that's your thing. That it's not her generation. It wasn't.
And in the end, even still didn't really understand it, or would take what she did understand and appreciate what she did. Was able to go, I don't get it, but you do, and you're making it work. And you know, like I said, to each their own. This has been my journey, and I still want to take it as far as I can. I think we've made history a few times already.
Absolutely. And you still got more history to go. You still, as far as I'm concerned, for the world of art, you're still young and starting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, these pop artists and popular, you know, visual artists that are out there getting all the accolades and all the attention and all that, like, that's great. They come and go and they get hot for a minute and fade away. But in the long run, you know, real longevity, you know, artists get into their own in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. That's when they really get into their own. We're talking about mastering your art. We're talking about, do you really have something worth mastering? You know what I mean? And I think that's that mature level of graffiti art that has to be explored more, because I think everybody explores the young graffiti artist, the wildcat, the bomber, the vandal, but even the rebellious pop artist, but nobody really has zoned in on what is worth mastering.
Yep.
How important is lettering?
Lettering in terms of graffiti is the number one factor. I mean, you know, if you don't have your style is your fingerprint. You know, you have to have you have to work hard, and you have to have an understanding of spacing, of layering, of you know, capital, lowercase. It's a lot of work all around. A successful piece is a piece that flows correctly, and you know, there's different ways to look at. It could be a see-through piece that's layered. It could be a wild style. It could be a straight block letter that screams to me.
Yeah.
Because it's done with such an insane style. It doesn't have to do with all the arrows and the doodads and the colors and the Helio Bray. He's a great technician with the technique. You know, I'd say that is his. You know, what has made him shine out to a lot of people. But then there's other artists that I don't give a shit about the color, but their letters are insane. And you know, like I said, everyone's different. Me personally, I try to stay as well-rounded all around the board. I don't want to be. I'd hate to be someone that goes, wow, his pieces are so good, but his hand style looks like a third grader. And there are.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that. I take, to me, I think it's harder to develop your penmanship and a beautiful hand style than to learn how to do wild style. Because a wild style, like I said, you could copy, the fluidness that's needed to do a proper, beautiful hand style takes time and work. There's no if and or fluffing around.
But if you, I mean, you as a, and I'm gonna use this, and I'm not gonna shy away from it, but you as a graffiti master, how do you describe your styles?
My pieces, to me,
how do you describe them?
They're like woven blankets.
Like woven blankets,
yeah,
nice. All right.
So everything to me, no matter, I do a lot of flowy, whippy styles. So like a lot of people know me. A lot of New York writers are on East Coast. New York writers a lot of times are on a jagged, hard edge, blocky kind of style.
Yeah.
West Coast is more of a fluid style. It's more of a swishy, wish-wash kind of fucking, you know, loopy.
This is what a graffiti master will tell you. Go ahead, listen up, folks.
Loopy style, and I try to create like a fusion of the two, because I appreciate New York style, I appreciate West Coast, and I worked to find a fusion of the two styles. I also study fonts a lot, and fonts create new styles for me. I do very squared, blocky, angled letters sometimes, which I do every so often.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was on that for a while. And then sometimes you could take two different complete styles and find a way to merge them together.
Yeah.
And then create a third. So, you know, to me, as long as the balance is there, and the balance could be very loose and spread, or it could be very tight knit, you know what I mean? It just has to be, it has to make sense from start to finish. As long as it's successful, you can do a million different ideas.
See, and that's a difficult thing, and that's why I was cautious in my question, because I don't want to cede you an answer. But you know, when you're talking about graffiti, we're still developing categories for how to describe it. There isn't books written on this specifically that I asked you. There's books written on the history of what happened on the subways and what happened in the walls and what happened in here, but there isn't really an analyzation of why these graffiti wild style pieces are what they are and are appreciated for what they are and what categories do they fall in, and also why are some wild and some are not so wild, and some are derivative of other styles. Like, we know them because we are constantly mixing letters and mixing styles and trying to invent a new formula that might look appealing.
Yeah.
But to the average eye, they just see it and they're just like, it's just a thing. It's an object. Somebody made an object, and they don't really see what is the shape made out of and why is it made a certain way. And your style, the way you described it, this like, you know, this fluid motion lettering, hard edges sometimes on the blocky tips. Also, I've seen you do very sharp edged lettering at times. I think that description, like, I see you still developing that, and I see you still evolving that.
I'm always evolving.
And the reason that I can identify, let's say, those few things is only because you've allowed us to identify them, because you've been consistent with certain criteria that you're putting in your pieces that I can say, you know what, I can spot that Meres always does this kind of thing. That's his thing. I haven't really seen too many other people do it. Sometimes I'll see somebody else do something similar, and I'm like, this is looking a little Meres-y.
Well, I think a big thing I started doing, at least, you know, that I started to really enjoy and I started to heavily go, is rooting my pieces, is having the letter smash the ground.
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen you do that.
And that's become a pretty frequent thing I do, and it rubs off. I see other people do it as well, and that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what? It's also a reminder to the artist that created it. Yo, trying to move forward and evolve, and to get onto something else, and to push it again, and keep them catching up rather than have people pass you. You know?
Yeah.
I don't tend to as much concentrate on crazy color, as I'm more letters first for me.
Okay.
All the colors and that shit is after.
Gotcha.
I do want to have nice color schemes, and but this year I want to concentrate more on different techniques and with using and coloring and different color patterns that I wouldn't necessarily do.
Okay.
Or maybe even I go to do a piece on a wall and not even just bring the paint and have somebody dictate what they think I should do as a fill and outline and
as a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to start doing stuff like that, or having my boys do my name in their outline, and then taking their outline and then putting my twist on it and doing what I'd want to. You know what I mean?
That's when you're comfortable in your own skin, you could do that. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say this too. I can tell you, for as many pieces I love in my career, there are a bunch of I don't know what the hell I was thinking pieces, but I don't mind them because they were experimental leaps.
Yeah.
And sometimes you hit hard, and sometimes you are like, I should have slept in today and not set my alarm. But that's what it takes to keep evolving and moving forward. And let me tell you, bro, the minute you get very comfortable in your skin and think you're king shit, that's when a guy comes out of nowhere and you're like, what rock did you just crawl out of? I've never even seen anything, and you just blew my brain in 2 seconds.
I think one last question I just want to ask you real quick about graffiti pieces and graffiti lettering specifically. How much of your graffiti walls are freestyles? How much of them are pre-planned outlines? How do you feel about the two in your world for yourself?
99.9% of my pieces are freestyle.
Okay.
And furthermore, for the last, I'd say, maybe 5 or 6 years, I started to fuse my two worlds, which I don't think most people do. And a lot of people, when they see me paint, they're like, that's fucking crazy. I usually go to a wall and I'll bust a huge tag on the wall.
As your sketch?
Yeah, and this is where practicing all the years, not only my name, other people's names, every letter of the alphabet, every number comes in handy. Because of, if I do a Meres piece, the M, the E, and then the R, and then the E, right? The E next to the R will lay different than the E next to a T will.
Yep.
Or and because of different letter configurations and doing different names, you come up with different letters that you would never think of with your layout of your name.
Yeah, I remember you were writing Serum for a while. Like you do some Serum
I
pieces.
get bored. I do my name backwards. I did mine's MYNZ, and that was at the time when I was when C's 7-letter MSK was my go-to partner. We were rockin' burners, and he had a backup tag, yours, YOERS, and I was like, mine's. It was like a joke.
Fucking clown.
but it stuck.
But
I started rocking them.
And it helped. It helped.
And
You had your
let
own
me tell
purpose.
you,
Yeah.
It helps. So the last, I'd say, since at least 2009 or 10, I've been catching tags on the wall, and then I go back in and from that skeletal of the tag, will armor up and create the
Flesh it
structured
out,
letter, and then from there, the extensions and whips and to me, what it does is, the reason why I started doing that is because I would get to a wall and sit and try to strategically come up with a flow and a style from the first letter to the second, and by the time I get to the S, I'm blowing dust out of my ears because I'm burnt. And by laying out a really quick blueprint, you get your spacing correct, as well as have the opportunity to retain some of your brain for the end of the piece.
See now, what pleasure would it be to be painting at a wall and have somebody come up to you, a fellow artist, and talk to you about this, as opposed to talking to you about, yo, I know so and so, and yo, you're from New York, yo. Can you put my name on the wall?
Yo, you right?
Yo, this is all you? This is all you?
Shake Graffiti Rather say, check it out.
Yo, Meres, thank you for picking your brain. I'm gonna have you back on. We gotta talk more like this, man. We need more of this. I call this, this is shop talk, man. We need more Graffiti Master shop talk.
No problem. I'll pick you up next week. We'll drive up to Connecticut for nothing.
Exactly, just to talk. Peace. All right, well, that was our interview with Meres One. Our first interview in the podcast with Meres One.
Yeah.
We've interviewed him years ago on the live stream.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
we
I
did.
remember.
Him and Marie.
They came. I made some Mexican food. I remember that.
That was a good time. And Marie
Yeah.
loves to talk, so we got to get Marie on this podcast as well.
Definitely. Mhm.
Marie of 5 Points, we got to get her on here. But that was a great conversation, Meres. I'm glad we got him on here. Looking forward to seeing him this weekend. If anybody's in New York this weekend, October 5th, we are going to be celebrating the first year anniversary of Mosa Bowery, the Museum of Street Art.
Yeah. So it's going to be, this Museum of Street Art is in the staircase of Citizen M Hotel in Bowery Street. So this Saturday, we're going to be celebrating the first year anniversary, and there's going to be a special event that if you are in New York, you should definitely check out. It's going to be from 5:30 to 8 p.m. And we're going to be there.
Yeah.
And you're going to get an opportunity to definitely see their staircase, the art, and I'm sure they're going to have music and everything.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't familiar with what is Mosa Bowery is the Museum of Street Art. It was organized by 5 Points Creates, curated by Marie.
Yeah.
And it was basically a reunion of all the artists from 5 Points. Everybody who, the majority of the artists, I mean, you can't get everybody, but the majority of the artists who painted at 5 Points are reunited. And we were all given a floor in the staircase of the hotel to do our own pieces within the certain theme of the Bowery and what it means to, the community in that area. And we all kind of did our own subject matter. I think I'm on the 17th floor, something like that. I'm not sure.
Is it the 21st? No, it's 21st floor. I think, you're like in the 17th or so.
I think I'm on the 17th floor. But everybody has a floor. Their names are plaqued on the wall. So if you're not familiar with the artist, you'll definitely see the artist's names on there.
Yeah.
And when you go into the Mosa Bowery, you go to the top of the staircase. You just say that you're going for the
Museum of Street Art.
Museum of Street Art, and they'll escort you up on the elevator all the way to the top floor. And then from there, you'll go down the staircase and go floor to floor and see what every artist contributed to the exhibition.
Yeah. And
One of-
something super cool that their hotel has is that on the 21st floor, they also have the rooftop. So you can take a view of the city.
Exactly.
And then you can go down the staircase.
You can have a
which is great.
drink on the rooftop, or you can have
Yeah.
a drink down in the bottom once you get to the bottom.
Exactly.
Because they have a bar downstairs too.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the beauty of this exhibit is that it is one of a kind in New York. In Manhattan, you're not going to see this anywhere. You have a collection of over at least 18, 20 artists.
Yeah, even more.
Easily. And you have artists from around the world that collaborated on this. And like we said, you know, it has a history of the 5 points as a backdrop of why we all got together for this.
And it has different type of art. So while you're going down the circus, you're gonna see more than one style, also more than just one concept. With each artist created their own theme, but like in their own way. Like
Right.
they were given a theme, but they created in their own with their own
Style and technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's super cool because you don't get to see, let's say, it's not just graffiti or street art. It's basically like all coming together in just one place. Yeah.
Yep. So looking forward to that this weekend. Carla, in our personal lives, we've been busy. We've been doing our things.
We've been doing our things, but also going out to do some art things that maybe we can do a recap. We can do an episode recap of our adventures.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing a lot.
I've been also getting busy on my iPad.
That's right. New animations coming up.
Effing around with Procreate.
Yeah.
Anybody out there who knows about Procreate?
They
you know
look
what I'm
super
up to?
cool, actually.
What?
They look professional. They look like you did it in the computer.
Yeah, it's incredible. If you guys are following our podcast, you'll know from a couple of episodes ago, we were talking about Procreate and how excited I'm about my iPad. And this week has just proven, this couple of weeks have proven it.
It was like a mind-blowing.
It was a mind-blowing thing. You know, shout out to my son, Mr. Ark. He introduced me to some of the export options and some of the animation options, and it blew my mind. So I had a fucking meltdown, and I just exploded all over the internet. But on my Instagram, if you guys want to follow me, Cortez NYC on Instagram or Cortez NYC Livestream on Instagram, and you'll find some of these animations that I've been posting. I have had a blast with this iPad, doing anything from rotoscoping my animation from a video to showing animations that are step-by-step progress of artwork. This
It's amazing.
This Procreate tool makes it so easy to just share your art with people and share your explorations with people. I think that's what makes it extra special, and it validates everything that I said on the previous episode that
You should get an iPad.
Procreate an iPad, just get a pen tool, but Procreate, iPad, a pen tool, and this is the new Black Book. This is the new way to explore your urban art, your graffiti talents, your lettering styles, your character styles, and to share it with the world, to share your explorations.
Definitely.
I think that's the new tool. It's incredible.
It is incredible.
I'm
And then also you can share your techniques because it showed the process of the making of. Then people can see, oh, that's how he does it. Oh, that's how he does it.
Absolutely.
You know? So we're all learning when we can share our work with the world.
And then I guess lastly, just to recap our friends on here on the podcast and on Instagram, but fucking we're ready for an impeachment. I hope it happens.
Oh yeah, it's true.
This has been brewing this week.
I mean, you know what? At this point, I'm just like, you know what? You guys do whatever you want because it's just crazy everything that keeps happening and there's not really a resolution or anything. So we'll see. But hopefully in the next weeks
I
coming.
know. I listen. These couple of weeks since the last episode, I've been watching the news, and it's been brewing, and I just see this new talk about the impeachment and all that, and he just keeps putting his foot in his mouth more and more and deeper
Yeah.
and deeper. And I'm like, why can't this?
And
dude
he just have to be impeached or just leave office because it makes a mess every time he comes to New York. And you know who's paying that? Us. Our taxes are paying for his freaking police
Ridiculous.
officers and freaking cars and everything else. Security. He has even snipers. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I know. For you personally, it's like too much
Yeah,
in your
it's
area.
insane. So he definitely has to go.
Well, I just think he's got to go because it's ridiculous that we are in this position, the most powerful, if not arguably the most powerful country in the world, and we are stuck with such a buffoon
Yeah.
as a president, as a leader, and it's so obvious that it's not working out, and it's obvious. So I'm like, why are we still holding on to this? It makes no
Yeah,
sense.
and it doesn't work out internationally, doesn't work out nationally, doesn't work out for anyone. So why do we keep holding on? If I keep holding on.
You got music for him, huh?
No, that song is too beautiful for him.
And then lastly,
Oh my God, I got like a bunch of ideas.
oh yeah, now you got too many ideas. Now you're the podcast queen.
Oh my God. No, but I just remember that we watch a lot of like critical and social documentaries, and we didn't have a chance to really talk about it on the podcast. So maybe that would be good.
So write them down so we can do them on the next episode.
Yeah,
we
we're
got
gonna
more
do it.
episodes, Carla.
We got like 1,000 episodes. Like you guys, I don't know.
me to teach you, right?
And I think lastly, what I want to do is I want to give a shout out to the haters.
Oh, that's right. The haters. That's also another topic. That's also another topic for another episode. But now that we're
this
here,
episode. No.
You know
We're here
what?
for the shade. So also since our last episode, just to fill in our friends here on the podcast.
yeah,
We have
we had some
some
beef,
weird
weird
clickbait, weird
attention
seeking
horse.
Yeah.
people out there.
that felt the need to like give us shade.
And tell me to fuck up.
Yeah,
Right? No, because fuck up, it's like, okay, well, fuck off. But like, fuck you and all this.
Fuck you, where you come from, and the horse
I'm
you rode
like,
in on.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Don't take it so personally, man. We can have a conversation about it. But
Yeah. So we had a couple of two incidents in another podcast that we thought we were all good. I don't
Yeah, I
understand.
know,
We
I
thought we
know.
were all friends. I
now,
thought we were all peace.
now I'm
friends,
not.
friends.
I was kind of like a fan. Now I'm not.
If y'all could see her, aw.
Felt personally attacked.
If y'all could just see her gesture, she's so sad.
No, but I mean, you know, the reason why the other person was feeling so overwhelmed and, you know, frustrated.
They were insecure about their Spanish. It's okay.
I could understand, but then at the same time, they were se estaban contradiciendo. They were contradicting themselves when they were explaining their points. So I was like, I don't know what you're saying. And at the end of the day, I just kept thinking, why then you feel so uncomfortable when you are doing what I'm saying you should be doing?
Listen, so we welcome
whatever.
listen, we welcome all haters on Hablando Español. If
Just
you
come and
just-
speak Spanish
Just
with
keep
us.
Spanish.
What the
You'll be
fuck?
fine. We'll get over it. Like that. Mira,
Yeah.
así. Se te quita así, mira.
Yeah.
Tan, 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 y se te quitó.
We're good. We're
Yeah,
good.
todo bien. Aquí
Yeah.
estamos para ti. Si tú quieres hablar español con nosotros, podemos hablar con español con nosotros. Aquí
and
estamos.
and then also you do have to understand that yes, I'm a Puerto Rican from the island. So yes, my views are gonna be different from a New Yorican.
Absolutely.
And yes, I do think that some New Yorkers just use the Puerto Rican thing to be like, hey, I'm part of the minority. But they're not really, because they don't really represent. And that's what I was trying to say. And it's okay. Like, it's fine if that's what you want to do. And then if you feel another way, like, hey, no, I'm part of the culture and I do this and I do that. Like, okay, all
But
right.
being part of the culture is not just eating the food and pretending to talk the language. Being part of the culture is being part of the culture. And if you're
Right.
part of the culture, you're not going to be offended by the culture. So that's the point. The point is, if you're offended by the culture, then obviously you feel like an outsider. But we're not trying to create outsiders on this show.
Not at all.
So
just
if anybody out there who might,
there.
yeah. Anybody out there, this is a message to all not my haters. This is a message to all the Latinos out there. All of us out there, man. Let's just support each other. We're all here speaking whatever Spanish we speak. The whole point is that you speak it.
Yeah,
The whole point is that
yeah.
you try. The whole point is that you embrace it.
Yeah.
And realize that that's what unites us. It's not what separates us.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So if you see like speaking Spanish is divisional, it's like dividing us, then you're on the wrong side of the track.
Right, right.
Speaking Spanish to us is uniting us.
Yeah.
It's a way of uniting people. It's a way of finding common ground.
Yeah.
Whether you speak it from South America or from the Caribbean, or if you speak it from New York. If you're speaking it, then we're trying to bring everybody together.
Yeah.
Even if you just say hello, hola, goodbye, hasta luego. That's good enough. You're trying.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the point where you get wrapped up in all this like drama of like who speaks it better and am I supposed to speak it or am I not supposed to speak it? What does that mean?
Right.
I think that's where people get locked up, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
our message right now. Is it's
And
a big
the-
hug. We're sending out a big hug.
You can speak Spanish. That's the whole point. Like, don't feel any type of way. You can speak Spanish and you can speak English. There's no problem.
Exactly.
And
But
we
speak
can
Spanish.
all be like, but yeah, speak Spanish. But practice your Spanish. Like, you want to be Latino, you want to
Aquí
be...
estamos para hablar
And
español.
you are because in your blood you have that...
Exactly, that fieriness.
Fieriness of
Yeah,
the Puerto Rican.
if you came at us, it's because you are Puerto Rican.
Yeah, so if you are, just practice it. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a broken Spanish. Just be proud of your broken Spanish. I'm proud of my broken English.
Exactly. That's the point.
And
I didn't understand.
Try it every single time. Like, I know I say wrong stuff, but
We all
you
know.
know. Don't use stereotypes to say like, oh, and I'm Puerto Rican, I will do this and that to you. I'll slash you. I'll cut you. I'm like, that's not good. That's not helping your case. But there's no hate. All love.
All right, we made it through another episode, bebas. We made it. We made it. It's another
Let's go.
episode. Oh my God, we're struggling. Episode 84, we're struggling. Help us.
We are struggling. But all love, all love.
All right, guys. We're going to catch you guys next episode. We got another interview. Next episode, we're going to interview Mr. CTF. Look
That's
forward
going to be
that.
a good one. Stay tuned.